Boring mythology for sleep. A day in ancient Egypt. In the quiet darkness of the desert night, long before alarm clocks, street lights, or the sound of cars, life in ancient Egypt moved with a rhythm shaped only by the Nile, the sun, and the soft breath of the wind. Everything was slower, everything was quieter, and everything in its own way followed a pattern that rarely changed. You are about to step into that world, not as a king, not as a priest, but as an ordinary resident. Someone whose life is simple, predictable, and calm. Someone who wakes with the sun and sleeps when the desert cools. Someone who lives in a world where every sound is soft, every action is unhurried, and every day repeats itself like the steady flow of the Nile. Let your breathing slow as you imagine this place. A world without noise, a world without rush, a world where time itself moves like sand drifting in the wind. This is the Egypt you will experience tonight. Part 1. The first light of the Nile. The day begins not with an alarm, but with the pale blue glow spreading across the horizon. The sun has not yet risen, but its light touches the river first, turning the water into a long, shimmering ribbon of quiet silver. The air is cool, almost cold, carrying the faint smell of wet reeds and old clay. Inside a simple mud-brick house, a typical Egyptian villager is waking. There is no door to slam open, no bustling noise, just the faint crack of straw shiftings under a woven mat. The walls are plain, smooth, and painted with a thin coat of white lime that reflects the morning light. A small niche holds a clay bowl, a small wooden box, and a bundle of linen strips. Everything is neatly placed. Egyptians dislike disorder. As the villager slowly rises, the first task is simple: stretching the body that slept on a firm surface and adjusting the linen wrap worn as night clothing. In ancient Egypt, beds were rare. Most common people slept on mats stuffed with reed fibers, sometimes raised slightly on wooden frames. Comfort was minimal, but it was normal. No one questioned it. Outside, the first birds begin to chirp: ibises, egrets, and small desert finches. Their calls are gentle, repetitive, and familiar. They are part of the morning soundscape, a natural orchestra that has existed for thousands of years without changing. The sun has not yet risen, but it will soon. And with it, the slow, predictable sequence of an ordinary Egyptian morning will begin. Part 2. Preparing for the day. Inside the house, the villager steps toward a small pottery jar placed near the doorway. This jar contains water drawn from the river the previous evening. The water is slightly cool, and it is used not for drinking, but for washing the face and hands, an essential ritual before touching any food. Cleanliness is not a luxury, it is tradition. Egyptians believed that the body should remain clean to stay aligned with Ma'at, the principle of balance and order. Even the poorest families try to wash each morning, using just enough water to refresh the skin. The villager steps outside. The ground is cool beneath bare feet. The village is quiet. Rooftops are flat and even, shaped by hands that have built the same style of houses for generations. Palm trunks support the ceilings, their textures rough and unmistakable. A few neighbors are also awake, moving slowly, stretching, quietly greeting the morning. There are no loud conversations, no rushed footsteps. Life is steady here, predictable, calm. Now the villager prepares a simple breakfast, usually bread from the previous day, made of emmer wheat, hard and coarse, dipped into a small bowl of beer that is thick like porridge. Beer is not a recreational drink here. It is food. It is safe. It is nourishing. The morning meal is silent and practical. Small bites, soft chewing, no rush. Outside, the first orange line of sunlight appears above the desert. The day has officially begun. Part 6. Noon heat and rest. By midday, the sun is high and the heat becomes strong enough to force everyone indoors. This is the quietest moment of the entire day. The villager returns home, walking slowly beneath the bright sky. Shadows shrink on the sandy ground. The smell of warm clay intensifies. Even the birds quiet down. Inside the house, the light is dim. The air is noticeably cooler. Lunch is simple. More bread, perhaps a piece of fish if the household has it, or a few dates kept from the previous season's harvest. Nothing elaborate, nothing heavy. Egyptians prefer meals that do not burden the body during the heat. After eating, the villager lies down on the mat again. There is no conversation, no activity, just rest. Most people in ancient Egypt observe this midday pause. It is not formal, not enforced, simply practical. During this time, the village becomes nearly silent. Even the animals are still. The soft buzzing of insects fills the air, blending with the distant hum of the river. It is a sound that continues without interruption, a sound that soothes, steadies, calms. For a moment, it feels as if time itself has stopped. Part 7. Afternoon tasks. When the heat begins to ease, the village slowly wakes again. Women return to grinding grain. Children begin playing outside. Men head toward the riverbanks to check their nets. The villager heads toward a small storage hut near the home. Here, clay jars hold grains, oils, dried fish, and other essentials. Every item is organized carefully. Egyptians value order. Ma'at, again, present in small things. The villager inspects a jar of barley, another of wheat, ensuring they remain dry and sealed. A loose lid could invite insects. A crack in a jar could spoil the contents. These checks are done daily, always the same way, always in the same order. Outside, a neighbor is repairing a reed basket. Another is patching the roof with fresh mud. Another sweeps the area in front of her home with a simple bundle of reeds. Every task is simple. Every task is quiet. Every task is slow. The pace of the afternoon is unhurried, designed to match the lowering sun. Part 8. At the edge of the Nile. As the afternoon light softens, the villager walks toward the river again. The Nile is the center of life, always present, always steady, always predictable. Its surface glimmers in the warm light, moving calmly in long, slow ripples. Several men stand near small wooden boats tied to the riverbank. Some are checking nets that were set earlier in the day. Some are mending tiers with thin cords of flax. Some simply sit on the ground, resting, their arms on their knees, watching the water. The villager approaches a simple fishing net spread across the sand. It is made from woven flax fibers knotted together in a pattern that has not changed for centuries. The villager runs a hand across the material, checking for weak spots. The texture is coarse, slightly rough, but familiar, like an old tool. The sound of the river is soft and repetitive. Gentle splashes, distant bird calls, the quiet lap of water against wood. Nearby, a group of children plays at the shallow edges. They step in and out of the water, leaving small footprints in the wet sand. Their laughter is faint, more like whispers than shouts, not because they are forced to be quiet, but because the calmness of the place encourages them to soften their voices. One child carries a small clay pot, filling it with water and pouring it out again, repeating the action endlessly. The pot is simple, unpainted, shaped by a village potter a few days ago. It will last months before breaking. But for now, it is perfect for play. Birds circle overhead, slow and wide, searching for fish that swim near the surface. Their wings glide without sound. Their shadows drift across the sand. This scene, unchanged for millennia, continues in gentle silence. Part 9. The Scribe and the Temple Courtyard. As the sun continues its descent, the villager travels toward the small local temple. Every village has one, a modest structure, not grand like the temples of Karnak or Luxor, but still respected, still sacred. The courtyard is open to the sky. Its stone floor is warm beneath bare feet. 2 columns stand at the entrance, decorated with simple carvings of lotus flowers. The scribe is here again. He has finished grinding his ink and now sits with a strip of papyrus unrolled across his lap. The reed pen in his hand moves slowly, forming neat, careful lines of symbols, hieroglyphs that describe offerings, names, simple records of daily life. He writes with absolute patience. Each sign must be formed precisely. Ink must flow evenly. Mistakes are rare because mistakes waste papyrus, and papyrus is valuable. Nearby, a priest tends to a small shrine. He replaces wilted flowers with fresh ones. He lights a small vessel of incense, letting the smoke drift upward in thin, wavering lines. He murmurs a simple prayer, not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet acknowledgement of the god's presence. This is not a grand ceremony. This is everyday life, calm, measured, predictable. The villager watches the smoke rise into the fading afternoon sky, turning pale gold as the sun lowers toward the horizon. Part 10. Evening. Return to the village. The sky shifts from gold to amber, then slowly to dusty pink. Shadows stretch long across the ground. The heat retreats, leaving a soft coolness that settles gently over the village. The villager walks home on the familiar path. Children finish their games. Women gather their tools. Men return from the fields. Everything slows again. Near the houses, goats bleat softly as they settle into their pens. Cats curl beside warm walls, waiting for nighttime hunting. A faint, distant drumbeat echoes from somewhere deeper in the settlement, a rhythm used to signal that the day's labor is finished. The villager enters the home once more. Inside, the smooth clay walls reflect the last light of the day. A single oil lamp is lit, using thick linen as a wick and castor oil for fuel. Its flame is small, steady, flickering only when a draft passes. The villager sits on the mat again, eating a light evening meal. Bread, maybe some beans, perhaps leftover fish. The portions are modest. Egyptians favor simple dinners, just enough to ease hunger before sleep. Outside, the sky deepens to purple. Stars begin to appear, slowly, one by one. The constellation of Sa, the ancient Egyptian version of Orion, rises above the horizon, just as it has for thousands of years. The night brings a familiar chill, contrasting with the warmth of the day. But it is not uncomfortable. It is natural. It is expected. The rhythm of ancient Egypt continues in perfect balance. Part 11. Quiet voices in the night air. Night has fully settled over the village now. The sounds have shifted. No more grinding stones. No more footsteps in the fields. Only the gentle chorus of crickets, the faint rustle of palm leaves, and the distant murmur of the Nile flowing in the darkness. The villager steps outside for a moment. The air is cool, almost crisp. The sky above is a deep, endless black, dotted with stars brighter than anything seen in cities today. Without artificial light, the heavens stretch wide, clear and ancient. Neighbors sit outside their doorways, speaking softly. Conversations are slow, measured, and peaceful. Topics are simple: weather, harvest, children, small events of the day. No one raises their voice. No one interrupts. Night encourages quietness. A group of elders sits together on woven mats, sipping a weak beer. Their faces are calm, lined by the sun and the years. Every few minutes, one of them speaks, offering a simple remark. The others nod, accepting it with the same steady rhythm. A single oil lamp flickers between them. Its warm light moves in smooth waves, casting gentle shadows on their robes. Above, the constellation of Sobdet, known in later eras as Sirius, rises slowly. Egyptians watch it with reverence. Though not a religious ritual tonight, its appearance always brings a sense of order and familiarity. Tonight is no different. The stars move, the villagers watch, and life remains steady, calm, unhurried. Part 12. The rhythm of the household. Inside the house, the villager prepares the sleeping area. The woven mat is smoothed out. A small reed pillow, firm and simple, is placed near the head. The clay lamp is moved to a safer corner where its glow is soft and distant. A small clay pot of water is set near the doorway, to be used if someone wakes in the night. Egyptians are practical. Every object has a purpose, and every purpose has a correct place. A bundle of linen strips is folded neatly. These are used as blankets when nights become cold. Though the desert can be warm in the day, night brings a noticeable chill. The villager checks the household tools: a wooden spoon, a stone grinder, a broom made from reeds, all placed neatly in their usual locations. Egyptians believe that order reflects good character. A tidy home is a peaceful home, and peace leads to restful sleep. Outside, the faint sound of a donkey braying echoes softly through the village. A dog barks once in the far distance, then stops. Even the animals sense the stillness of the night. Inside, the villager sits quietly, breathing slowly. No rush, no urgency, only calm repetition. Part 13. Nighttime rituals and small offerings. Before sleep, many Egyptians make small gestures of respect toward the gods. Not elaborate prayers, but routine acknowledgements woven into daily life. The villager approaches a tiny household shrine. It's a simple niche carved into the wall, holding a clay figurine of Taweret, the protective goddess, a small bead necklace, a handful of dried flowers. The villager places one new flower in front of the figurine. No words spoken, just a quiet, steady action. This is not dramatic or ceremonial. It is simply tradition, habit, comfort. Many Egyptians believe these tiny acts maintain harmony, ma'at, within the home. Not out of fear, but out of routine. The same way one tidies a room, maintains tools, or sweeps the entrance. Outside, the cricket's chorus grows a little louder. Palm leaves sway more deeply as a soft wind moves through the village. The villager takes one last look through the doorway at the darkened street. All lamps are dimmed now, except for the small ones used by elders still talking outside. Their voices are faint, almost blending with the wind. The villager closes the doorway curtain, a thin linen sheet that moves slightly with every breeze. It is time to sleep. Part 14. Lying down under the ancient sky. The villager lies down on the mat. The reed fibers shift slightly under body weight, producing a soft, familiar crackle. The linen wrap is adjusted, pulled over the shoulders. The house is nearly silent. Only the distant, soft hum of night insects fills the air. The oil lamp flickers one last time before being pinched out, leaving the room in gentle darkness. Darkness in Egypt is never oppressive. It is natural, steady, spacious, a darkness that feels connected to the desert, the river, and the vastness of the night sky. Outside, stars shimmer through the doorway curtain. The light is faint but steady, casting a soft glow across the clay floor. Breathing slows, muscles loosen. The world narrows to quiet sensations. The coolness of the air, the stillness of the home, the slow movement of the villager's chest rising and falling. Sleep comes not suddenly, but gradually, like sand settling in deep water. The day in ancient Egypt ends the same way it began, quietly, calmly, predictably. Part 15. The deep quiet of the desert Tuat. Night in ancient Egypt is unlike modern night. There are no lamps in the distance, no distant engines, no electricity humming quietly in walls. The silence is complete, but not empty. It is filled with gentle, natural sounds. Soft breezes, the distant rustle of palm branches, occasional calls of night birds, and the low, steady pulse of the Nile. The desert breathes slowly as the temperature drops. Warm air escapes upward into the sky. Cool air settles downward, brushing lightly across the village. Inside the home, the villager shifts slightly on the woven mat. The reed fibers sigh under the movement. The linen blanket adjusts with a soft whisper. Breathing remains slow, calm, measured. This is the quietest part of the entire day, a level of silence so deep it feels as if the world has paused. Outside, the stars appear brighter than before, piercing the darkness with steady white points. They follow a pattern that Egyptians have watched for thousands of years. Sa, Orion, keeps his eternal posture. Sopdet, Sirius, shines at the horizon. The Milky Way stretches above like a faint river of light. This sky is the same sky the ancestors saw, the same sky the kings saw, the same sky the villagers see every night. It is ancient, it is constant, it is peaceful. Part 16. Dreams shaped by routine. The villager's thoughts drift. Not sharp, not vivid, but soft, slow images shaped by the day's familiar routines. Dreams in ancient Egypt are often considered messages from gods, but for ordinary people, dreams simply reflect their lives. Soft grains being ground on stone, water moving through irrigation ditches, palm fronds swaying, nets floating in the Nile, children splashing in shallow water. The quiet face of the household goddess statue, the flickering lamp at dusk. These images drift through the villager's mind smoothly, effortlessly, without logic or tension. The body relaxes further. Fingers rest loosely. Shoulders soften. Breathing grows deeper, slower, falling into the same rhythm as the sleeping village. Outside, an owl calls once, a low, muffled sound. Then silence again. This is how nights pass here, slowly, deeply, without urgency. Part 17. The Nile at midnight. At the center of the night, the Nile becomes almost completely silent. Its surface darkens until it blends with the sky, reflecting only the faintest hints of starlight. Yet the river never truly sleeps. It moves at its own pace, smooth, steady, carrying silt from far upriver, guiding fish through its currents, marking time more reliably than any human invention ever could. A small boat bumps gently against its mooring post, producing a soft wooden knock. Water laps against the hull with slow, rhythmic motions. Far across the river, a lone torch glows near a distant settlement. The light flickers, then remains still. The villager, half asleep, feels the presence of the river through the cool air drifting indoors. The Nile shapes everything: food, work, tradition, ritual, sleep. Even now, in the deepest part of the night, its influence is calm and constant. Part 18. the weight of the ancient walls. The house itself contributes to the tranquility. Mudbrick absorbs the day's heat and releases it slowly through the night, creating a steady, comfortable temperature. The walls smell faintly of clay, a dry, earthy scent that is neither strong nor weak, just present. The ceiling, made of palm trunks and woven matting, creaks gently from the shifting coolness of the night. Not loud creaks, soft, old, familiar sounds that have existed since the house was built. Everything in this place has weight, history, and purpose. The jars in the corner, filled with grain and oil, sit unmoving. The broom rests against the wall, its reeds perfectly straight. The clay bowl near the doorway holds still water, reflecting a faint glimmer of starlight. The stability of the environment brings stability to the mind. There is nothing unexpected here, nothing unusual, nothing to break the calm. A perfect space for deep rest. Part 19. Soft movements in the village. Though most people sleep, a few gentle movements occur around the village. A cat walks quietly along a rooftop, its paws making no sound on the dusted surface. It pauses, ears alert, then continues on its path, watching for mice. A donkey shifts in its pen, exhaling a heavy breath. The sound is deep but not disruptive. The distant wind creates a soft, low whistle as it moves between houses. These subtle sounds blend together into a single background hum, so gentle that it feels like the natural pulse of nighttime Egypt. Inside the house, the villager breathes in sync with it, a deep inhale, a long exhale, resting, drifting, fully enveloped in the stillness of the ancient world. Part 20. The return of early morning silence. Time passes unnoticed, like water, like sand, like breath. In the hours before dawn, the world becomes even quieter. The wind slows, insects soften their song, animals rest completely. The stars remain bright, but the sky near the horizon begins to pale ever so slightly. Not enough to wake the villager, but enough to hint that a new day is approaching. The villager remains in deep sleep. Muscles relaxed, breathing steady, mind empty. The world outside waits with patience, as it always does. For thousands of years, mornings in ancient Egypt have begun this way, with soft darkness, gradual light, and a peaceful transition from night to day. Soon, the cycle will begin again. The same tasks, the same routines, the same calm rhythm. But for now, the villager sleeps, wrapped in the stillness of a civilization that moves with perfect, timeless order. Part 21. The moment before dawn. The faintest shade of blue begins to appear along the eastern horizon. It is barely visible, a thin line of pale color stretching above the desert. Most of the sky remains dark, a deep, velvety black, dotted with countless stars. But this thin line is the first signal that night is slowly giving way to day. The temperature is at its lowest now. The coolness settles across rooftops and courtyards, wrapping the village in a gentle, refreshing stillness. Inside the house, the villager shifts slightly in sleep, not fully awake, not fully aware, just a small movement as the body naturally adjusts to the subtle change in the air. The woven mat beneath the villager is firm but familiar, its texture a part of everyday life. The linen blanket rests lightly, offering just enough warmth to offset the chill. In the quiet outside, the first bird begins to stir, not yet singing, just the faint rustling of wings as it moves on its perch. The world remains almost completely silent. This is the softest moment between night and day. Part 22. The first birdsong. Gradually, another bird awakens, then another and another still. soft chirps, low calls, gentle morning notes. No single sound is loud, but together they form a delicate chorus. This early birdsong has signaled dawn in Egypt for millennia. Farmers have risen to it, children have grown up with it, priests have timed their morning rituals by it, and villagers, like the ones sleeping now, have always known that this sound means the sun will soon rise. Inside the home, the villager remains asleep, but the body begins to sense that a new day is approaching. Breathing becomes slightly deeper, muscles loosen further. The mind floats in the soft space between dreams and waking. Outside, the sky continues its slow transformation. The pale blue at the horizon deepens to a soft, glowing grey. The stars near the eastern edge fade first, their light swallowed gently by the coming dawn. Nothing is rushed, nothing sudden. Everything unfolds with calm precision. Part 23. The warmth of the approaching sun. Though the sun has not yet appeared, its presence is felt. The air around the village shifts subtly, warming by just a degree, softening in texture, carrying the faintest hint of golden light. The silhouettes of palm trees become clearer. The outlines of rooftops grow more defined. The river catches a thread of early brightness, reflecting it in a long silver line. Still, the villagers sleep. This transition is too gentle to wake them. Inside the home, the villager's breathing remains steady and slow. The mind drifts in soft, unformed thoughts. Images from yesterday, sounds from the night, and the calm expectation of another quiet day. The house is silent, yet full of presence. The texture of the walls, the faint smell of clay, the coolness of the floor. It is a silence made not of emptiness, but of peace. Part 24. The quiet awakening. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the villager wakes. The first sensation is the softness of morning air touching the face. Cool at first, but warming gently. The second sensation is the familiar weight of the linen blanket. Light, comfortable, perfectly suited for desert nights. Then comes awareness of the body, the firm mat beneath, the slight stiffness of joints after a long night's rest, the slow stretch of arms and legs. The villager opens their eyes. The room is dim, lit only by the soft glow creeping in through the doorway curtain. There is no rush to sit up, no urgency, no alarm, just a slow, natural return to wakefulness. Outside, the birds continue their gentle chorus. The sky brightens further. The village begins to breathe again. It is morning in ancient Egypt, calm, predictable, and beautifully slow. Part 25. A new day begins. The villager rises carefully, placing bare feet on the cool, smooth floor. The temperature is mild now, neither cold nor warm, but balanced. The first task of the morning is always the same: washing. A small clay jar near the doorway holds water collected last night. The villager dips fingers into it, splashing cool droplets onto the face, the neck, the hands. This simple ritual refreshes the senses and symbolizes a clean beginning. The faint light grows stronger. The curtain glows pale gold. The quiet outside shifts into soft activity. Another day in ancient Egypt has begun. Part 26. The soft sounds of a waking village. As the villager steps outside, the air is filled with the quiet, unhurried sounds of the early morning. A goat bleats softly from a nearby pen. A rooster calls once, not loudly, but with a calm familiarity. A potter opens his workshop door, the wooden hinge creaking gently. These sounds do not disrupt the peace. They are the peace. Natural, rhythmic parts of village life that have existed unchanged for centuries. The sky is now pale blue with streaks of gold. The sun is moments away from cresting above the distant desert line. Palm trees sway lightly in the early breeze, their leaves whispering in slow, gentle waves. The villager breathes in deeply, taking in the crisp, slightly humid scent of the Nile morning. Another day begins, quiet and predictable, exactly as it always has. Part 27. Preparing the morning meal. Inside the home again, the villager gathers the simple items needed for the first meal of the day. Bread from yesterday, firm, dense, made of coarse emmer wheat. A small bowl of thick beer. Nutritious, mild, more like food than drink. A few dates. Dry, sweet, kept from the previous season. The villager eats slowly. No hurry, no conversation, just small bites, steady chewing, and the quiet calm of morning in ancient Egypt. The food does not change often. Meals remain the same, day after day, and this sameness brings comfort. The villager finishes the meal, sets the clay bowl aside, and prepares to begin the day's work. Part 28. The village pathway. Walking along the main path, the villager feels the familiar texture of packed earth beneath their feet. The ground is cool still, holding the memory of the night, but already warming under the rising sun. Neighbors nod in greeting. No one speaks loudly. Voices remain soft, respectful of the morning quiet. Palm frond roofs cast long shadows across the path. A few chickens scratch at the ground, pecking calmly, making tiny clicking sounds with their beaks. Children sit outside their homes, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Some begin simple chores, bringing water from jars, carrying small bundles of reeds. Everything moves at a gentle pace. The village is waking, but not rushing. Egypt does not rush. Part 29. Returning to the fields. The villager reaches the edge of the fields again, the same fields visited yesterday and the day before and so many days prior. Emmer wheat shines with dew. Barley stands tall and green. Irrigation channels reflect the sky in thin, shimmering strips. Farmers are already working, but their movements are slow and methodical. One adjusts a wooden gate to redirect water. Another carries a basket of river silt to enrich the soil. A third inspects the leaves for signs of pests. No one speaks loudly. No one hurries. The Nile's rhythm dictates all work, and that rhythm is unchanging. The villager kneels beside a narrow channel, using a wooden tool to guide the water toward a thirsty patch of crops. The water glides forward with soft, soothing sounds. A gentle trickle, a slow swirl, a steady flow. This moment, simple, repetitive, quiet, forms the heartbeat of Egyptian life. Part 30. The warmth grows slowly. As the sun rises higher, its warmth spreads across the fields. The light becomes brighter, but still gentle, golden, soft, slanting across the land in long, warm beams. Shadows shorten. The air grows thicker, carrying the scent of fresh plants and damp earth. Work continues, but at the same slow pace, unaffected by the growing heat. This transitional time between cool morning and approaching midday warmth is one of the most tranquil moments in the entire day. The villager wipes a hand across the forehead, removing a small bead of sweat. Not discomfort, just nature. The sun climbs, the river glistens, the village hums softly. Life continues in perfect ancient rhythm. Part 26. The soft sounds of a waking village. As the villager steps outside, the air is filled with the quiet, unhurried sounds of the early morning. A goat bleats softly from a nearby pen. A rooster calls once, not loudly, but with a calm familiarity. A potter opens his workshop door, the wooden hinge creaking gently. These sounds do not disrupt the peace. They are the peace. Natural, rhythmic parts of village life that have existed unchanged for centuries. The sky is now pale blue with streaks of gold. The sun is moments away from cresting above the distant desert line. Palm trees sway lightly in the early breeze, their leaves whispering in slow, gentle waves. The villager breathes in deeply, taking in the crisp, slightly humid scent of the Nile morning. Another day begins, quiet and predictable, exactly as it always has. Part 27. Preparing the morning meal. Inside the home again, the villager gathers the simple items needed for the first meal of the day. Bread from yesterday, firm, dense, made of coarse emmer wheat. A small bowl of thick beer. Nutritious, mild, more like food than drink. A few dates, dry, sweet, kept from the previous season. The villager eats slowly. No hurry, no conversation, just small bites, steady chewing, and the quiet calm of morning in ancient Egypt. The food does not change often. Meals remain the same, day after day, and this sameness brings comfort. The villager finishes the meal, sets the clay bowl aside, and prepares to begin the day's work. Part 28. The Village Pathway. Walking along the main path, the villager feels the familiar texture of packed earth beneath their feet. The ground is cool still, holding the memory of the night, but already warming under the rising sun. Neighbors nod in greeting. No one speaks loudly. Voices remain soft, respectful of the morning quiet. Palm frond roofs cast long shadows across the path. A few chickens scratch at the ground, pecking calmly, making tiny clicking sounds with their beaks. Children sit outside their homes, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Some begin simple chores, bringing water from jars, carrying small bundles of reeds. Everything moves at a gentle pace. The village is waking, but not rushing. Egypt does not rush. Part 29. Returning to the fields. The villager reaches the edge of the fields again, the same fields visited yesterday and the day before and so many days prior. Emmer wheat shines with dew. Barley stands tall and green. Irrigation channels reflect the sky in thin, shimmering strips. Farmers are already working, but their movements are slow and methodical. One adjusts a wooden gate to redirect water. Another carries a basket of river silt to enrich the soil. A third inspects the leaves for signs of pests. No one speaks loudly. No one hurries. The Nile's rhythm dictates all work, and that rhythm is unchanging. The villager kneels beside a narrow channel, using a wooden tool to guide the water toward a thirsty patch of crops. The water glides forward with soft, soothing sounds. A gentle trickle, a slow swirl, a steady flow. This moment, simple, repetitive, quiet, forms the heartbeat of Egyptian life. Part 30. The warmth grows slowly. As the sun rises higher, its warmth spreads across the fields. The light becomes brighter, but still gentle, golden, soft, slanting across the land in long, warm beams. Shadows shorten. The air grows thicker, carrying the scent of fresh plants and damp earth. Work continues, but at the same slow pace, unaffected by the growing heat. This transitional time between cool morning and approaching midday warmth is one of the most tranquil moments in the entire day. The villager wipes a hand across the forehead, removing a small bead of sweat. Not discomfort, just nature. The sun climbs, the river glistens, the village hums softly. Life continues in perfect ancient rhythm. Part 31. The farmer's steady labour. The villager continues working among the fields, adjusting irrigation ditches and checking the health of the crops. Other farmers move slowly nearby, each focused on a simple, repeated task. One gathers stray reeds to reinforce a weak patch of earth. Another kneels to inspect barley stalks, touching them gently between rough fingertips. Another carries a clay jar filled with water from a nearby channel, pouring it carefully around a young plant. No one speaks unless necessary. Words are sparse. Communication happens through glances, nods, and the unspoken understanding of work shared for generations. Birds fly low over the fields, their wings beating softly in the warm air. Some land near the irrigation ditches, pecking quietly at insects in the wet soil. Everything unfolds slowly. So slowly that time feels stretched, expanded across the land like the soft glow of the rising sun. The Nile glimmers in the distance, steady as always. Part 32. The Basket of Reeds. At the edge of the fields, a small pile of fresh reeds waits to be carried back to the village. The villager picks up the bundle, light, fragrant, still cool from the morning shade. Reeds are used for many things: basket weaving, rope making, house repairs, and even pillow stuffing. Their texture is smooth and slightly flexible. When bundled together, they create a pleasant rustling sound whenever the villager shifts the load. Walking back toward the village, the villager passes a slow-moving donkey laden with jars of river silt. The animal blinks lazily, swishing its tail in a calm, half-hearted motion. A faint breeze moves across the path, cool against the skin, carrying with it the distinct scent of fresh vegetation and damp earth. The reeds rustle again, soft, rhythmic, like distant rain. Part 33. Returning to the village workshops. Arriving at the village centre, the villager sets the reed bundle near the basket weaver's workshop. The weaver sits cross-legged on the ground, hands moving calmly, slowly, weaving a new basket. Her motions are steady, a pattern repeated countless times: pull, bend, press, tighten. The reeds create a soft, whisper-like sound as they slide against each other. Next door, the potter shapes clay on a hand-turned wheel. The wet clay glistens in the morning light. He dips his fingers in water before smoothing the surface, creating a gentle, circular rhythm with his hands. Farther down, a carpenter shaves wood with a copper blade. Each stroke is slow, careful, producing curled shavings that fall lightly to the ground. The village is alive, but not loud. Activity moves in gentle waves, never breaking the calm. The villager pauses, watching the weaver for a moment. Not speaking, just observing the soothing repetition. Part 34. The heat approaches. The warmth of the sun begins to settle more firmly across the land. Shadows shorten to small dark shapes close to the ground. The smells deepen. Warm clay, dry reeds, sun-baked earth. People adjust their head coverings, seeking slight relief from the growing heat. The villagers know that midday is approaching, and with it, the quiet rest that protects them from the intensity of the sun. Dogs move to shaded areas beneath awnings or near cool walls. Cats curl into small shapes underneath pottery stands, their tails flicking lazily. The pace slows even further. Part 35. Preparing for midday rest. The villager returns home, walking slowly beneath the brightening sky. Inside, the house offers relief from the sun, its thick mud-brick walls holding the morning coolness. The villager places the reed bundle in the corner, then drinks a small amount of water from a clay cup. The midday meal is simple once again. Bread, perhaps beans or lentils, and a little beer to ease digestion. The villager sits quietly, chewing slowly, taking in the dim peacefulness of the home. The heat outside intensifies. Insects buzz lazily. The village settles into its daily stillness. After the meal, the villager lies down on the woven mat, hands resting gently on the stomach. The home grows silent. The world slows even more. This is midday in ancient Egypt, a time for stillness, for calm, for letting the body rest before the afternoon begins. Part 36. The stillness of midday. Midday in ancient Egypt is unlike any other time. The sun stands high above the desert, casting a bright, unwavering light across rooftops, fields, and riverbanks. Heat settles in layers, thick and heavy, pressing gently on everything beneath it. But inside the home, the villager rests. Eyes closed, breathing deep and slow, the woven mat supporting the body with familiar firmness. The shade protects the house from the harshest warmth. The walls release the last of their morning coolness in a steady, calming flow. Outside, the village grows nearly silent. Even the goats lie still in their pens, and the chickens tuck themselves into patches of shade beside clay pots or palm trunks. A single cicada clicks rhythmically, its sound echoing faintly in the otherwise quiet midday air. Everything slows to the speed of breath. Part 37. The weight of ancient time. As the villager rests, the sensation of time itself seems to shift. In a world without clocks, time is felt rather than counted. It stretches and softens, moving like the Nile in slow, gentle currents. The villager drifts between wakefulness and sleep, not dreaming, not fully awake, just floating in stillness. The house is dim, its corners filled with soft shadows. The doorway curtain moves only when a faint breeze manages to slip inside. The smell of warm clay and dried reeds forms a gentle backdrop, a scent as old as Egypt itself. The villager breathes once more, slow and heavy, settling deeper into rest. Part 38. The world outside remains. Calm. Meanwhile, outside the home, the sun continues to shine uninterrupted. Its light reflects off pottery, creating bright spots that shimmer softly against the warm ground. Palm fronds sway only slightly. The breeze is weak, barely strong enough to move the edges of a basket or shift a strand of straw. Animals remain still. People remain indoors. The entire village seems to quietly wait. A potter, too devoted to stop completely, sits in the shade of his workshop, hands resting on unmoving clay, eyes half-closed, breathing slowly. A scribe leans against a post, his reed pen resting on a flat strip of papyrus, ink drying slowly on the palette. Even those who remain awake behave as if dreaming. Motion slow, thoughts unhurried. The midday silence spreads across the land like a vast, warm blanket. Part 39. The gradual return of movement. Eventually, the sun begins its slow descent. The heat loosens its grip on the village. The air shifts. First a subtle cooling, barely noticeable, then a gentle relief. Inside the home, the villager awakens naturally. No abrupt movement, no surprise. Just a slow blink, a deep inhale, a small stretch that loosens the joints stiffened by rest. The villagers across the settlement begin to stir as well. A door opens softly. A child laughs quietly. Footsteps move across the dirt path, slow and steady. Life resumes its gentle flow. Part 40. Afternoon, light and routine. The villager rises and steps outside again. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the village. The air is warm but no longer intense. It carries the scent of dry sand and distant water. The villager walks toward the fields once more, passing neighbours who sweep their doorways, patch roof edges with fresh mud, or check baskets drying in the shade. The path feels familiar, the ground firm beneath bare feet, the world calm and completely at ease. In the distance, the Nile catches the afternoon sun, its surface bright, almost glowing. The villager breathes in slowly, a long, deep breath, and continues moving through the timeless pace of Egyptian life. Part 41. Afternoon work begins again. With the heat fading and the shadows lengthening, the villager returns to the fields. Though the morning work was slow and steady, the afternoon tasks feel even calmer, as if the land itself invites gentler movement. The sun is still bright, but its intensity has softened. Golden rays stretch across the fields, illuminating the tops of barley stalks and casting long, graceful lines on the irrigation ditches. The villager kneels beside one of these ditches, using the wooden tool once more to clear bits of debris from the waterway. Small pieces of straw and leaves float gently along the surface, moving with the flow of water guided by the slight downward slope of the land. Every movement is slow, unhurried, measured. Nearby, another farmer lifts a basket of silt onto a small wooden sled to be dragged across the field. The basket is heavy, but he pulls it steadily, the sound of the sled a soft, rhythmic scrape against the earth. The air feels thick with the warmth of the day, but not uncomfortable, just warm enough to encourage slow breathing and a relaxed pace. Part 42. The soft murmur of village life. Returning from the fields to the village centre, the villager passes a cluster of neighbours gathered under the shade of a large palm tree. Their conversation is quiet, voices soft and steady. One woman is repairing a clay pot, adding a fresh strip of mud to fill a small crack. She smooths the surface with slow circular motions. Another trims the frayed edges of a woven mat, using a simple copper blade to cut away loose fibres. A child sits beside them, using a stick to draw shapes in the dust, shapes that will soon vanish as people walk past, but for now remain part of the afternoon stillness. Even in conversation, the villagers' tone remains gentle. They speak as though the entire village is in a light sleep. No sharp sounds, no sudden laughter, only the steady murmur of calm voices, like quiet water. Part 43. The temple in the afternoon light. As the villager approaches the small temple again, the stones glow warmly under the afternoon sun. The relief carvings, simple lotus blossoms, modest depictions of deities, lines of hieroglyphs, catch the light in soft golden reflections. The scribe is still there, seated in the same spot as earlier, but now he rests his pen across his lap. He gazes at the papyrus as if waiting for the exact right moment to continue writing. Ink dries slowly in the warm air, forming small, perfectly matte symbols on the smooth surface. Nearby, a priest sweeps dust from the shrine's threshold, his gestures methodical, almost hypnotic. The air inside the temple courtyard smells faintly of incense, the last remnants of the morning offering. The villager pauses, taking in the stillness, before continuing back home. Part 44. The long shadows of late afternoon. As the sun dips lower, the shadows stretch farther across the village. Houses cast elongated shapes that reach toward one another like slow-moving silhouettes. The air cools noticeably. The harsh brightness softens. A nearby tree casts a patterned shadow, its leaves forming tiny, shifting fragments of light on the sandy ground. The river begins to glow with deeper colors, no longer bright silver, but a warm amber reflection of the setting sun. The villager walks along the path, the ground warm underfoot, but no longer hot. Every step feels steady, measured, guided by countless days of walking this same route. The world slows even more. Part 45. Preparing the evening meal. Inside the house, the villager gathers ingredients for the evening meal. Emmer bread, drier than in the morning. A handful of beans, soaked earlier to soften in the warm air. Perhaps a small piece of fish dried and preserved from yesterday's catch. The villager lights a small cooking fire outside the home, shielded from the breeze by mud-brick walls. The smoke rises slowly, its scent earthy and mild, blending with the evening air. Neighbours prepare their meals too, and soon the entire village is covered in a faint haze of warm cooking smoke. The sound of crackling fire is soft and steady. No one speaks loudly. Conversations remain light and calm. When the food is ready, the villager steps inside again, sitting on the woven mat and eating slowly, carefully, the meal's small but satisfying. Outside, the sun dips closer to the horizon. Part 46. The soft descent of evening. The sun lowers slowly behind the distant dunes of the desert, casting a warm orange glow that settles across rooftops and the quiet pathways of the village. The air cools gently, lifting the heat of the day from the clay walls and the sandy ground. A few villagers stand near their doorways, watching the last moments of sunlight with calm, quiet eyes. Nothing dramatic happens in this moment. It is simply the end of the day. The same end that has arrived countless times before. The light fades in long, slow waves, softening the sharp edges of houses and palm trees until everything appears smooth, almost blurred. The stillness is deep. So deep you can hear the faint shift of sand carried by the wind. The villager steps outside and watches the sky gently change, from orange to rose to a pale violet that deepens with every breath. Even the river seems to quiet itself as the colours fade. Part 47. The Evening Gathering. As the sky darkens, a small group of neighbours gathers outside a home near the centre of the village. They sit on woven mats spread across the ground, legs crossed, hands resting easily on their knees. The conversation is soft, not urgent, not emotional, but steady and relaxed. One man mentions the growing height of the wheat. Another comments on the behaviour of the river birds. A woman notes that the breeze tonight feels cooler than yesterday. These simple observations form the rhythm of evening life. No one debates. No one rushes to speak. Every voice is calm and slow. The villager joins them, sitting quietly on the edge of the gathering. A small oil lamp flickers in the centre, its flame gentle, its light warm, casting faint shadows that sway with every movement of air. This moment, shared daily, connects the villagers in a deep and familiar stillness. Part 48. Returning to the Nile at dusk. After a time, the villager walks toward the river once more. The Nile at dusk is different from morning, different from midday. A calm surface, darkened to deep blue and streaked with faint reflections of the last remaining light. Small ripples move in steady, unbroken lines. A fisherman pulls in the last of his nets for the day. His movements are slow, deliberate, the work of someone who knows the river better than he knows anything else. He places the fish into a shallow basket without a sound. 2 ibis birds stand in the shallows, motionless, their long legs dark silhouettes against the glowing water. The air carries a coolness now, fresh, clean, with a hint of river mud and evening breeze. The villager stands for a long moment, observing the way the river moves, never rushed, never still, always balanced, a perfect reflection of Egyptian life. Part 49. The quiet return home. The sky has darkened further by the time the villager walks back toward home. Stars appear one by one, first faint, then bright, then steady. The houses glow softly from small oil lamps lit inside. The light escapes through doorways and small windows, forming yellow shapes on the ground outside. Children have already gone indoors. Animals settle into pens. The village becomes a cluster of warm lights in the wide openness of the desert night. The villager steps inside their home, closing the linen curtain behind them. Inside, the air feels cool, calm, quiet. Another oil lamp is lit on a small clay shelf, its flame steady, barely moving. The villager sits down on the woven mat, exhaling slowly, not from exhaustion, but from the peaceful conclusion of another gentle day. Part 50. The night meal. The evening meal is modest and simple. The villager breaks a small piece of bread, dips it into a bowl of beans, and eats slowly. A few dates complete the meal. Their sweetness mild, their texture soft. Nothing rushed, nothing wasted. The crackle of the oil lamp forms a faint background sound, steady and comforting. Outside, the night deepens. The breeze softens. The crickets begin their slow chorus again, filling the silence with a soft, rhythmic pulse. The villager eats quietly, mind calm, body relaxed. Another day is reaching its gentle end. Part 51. The soft glow of the lamp. Inside the home, the oil lamp burns with a steady, gentle flame. Its light is warm, casting slow-moving shadows that stretch across the clay walls and dance softly with each subtle shift of air. The flame flickers, but never sharply. Just a smooth, wavering motion that brings a feeling of calm to the entire room. The villager finishes the meal, rinses the small clay bowl with a splash of water, and places it neatly back on the shelf. Order is important. Simplicity is comforting. Everything in its place reflects the harmony of the home. Outside, a faint breeze makes the linen doorway curtain move slightly, its fabric rising and falling in slow, silent breaths. The village is quiet now, settling gradually into the stillness of night. Part 52. A moment of reflection. The villager sits on the mat, legs folded, hands resting loosely on the lap. There is no formal meditation here, no ritualized breathing, no structured thought, just stillness. The faint hum of night insects drifts through the open doorway. Their rhythm is steady, gentle, almost hypnotic. The villager allows the mind to drift freely, not to worries, but to the simple images of the day. The feel of warm earth beneath bare feet, the sound of water trickling through irrigation ditches, the slow bending of reeds in the afternoon breeze, the distant call of a river bird gliding above the Nile. These thoughts do not feel like memories, but like soft impressions floating in a quiet pool of calmness. The villager breathes slowly, and the home grows still. Part 53. Night preparations. Before lying down for sleep, the villager prepares the home just as generations have done before. The clay jar of water is placed near the doorway in case it is needed during the night. The reed broom is set gently against the wall, its fibers neatly aligned. The small shrine is given one last glance. The clay figure of Taweret watching over the home with her enduring protective presence. The oil lamp is moved to a small alcove in the wall, where its flame glows softly, unobtrusively. It provides just enough light to guide small movements, but not enough to disturb the peace. The villager smooths the mat with slow, gentle motions, removing small creases and straightening the edges. Then, with practiced ease, the villager lowers the body onto the woven fibers. The mat feels firm and familiar. The linen blanket is pulled lightly over the shoulders. A deep breath follows. Then another. The body settles. Part 54. The calm outside deepens. Beyond the home's doorway, the village is wrapped in a deep, enveloping quiet. A dog shifts in its sleep beside a clay wall, letting out a soft sigh. A donkey moves once, then stands still again. The breeze travels between houses, its path smooth and unbroken. Palm trees sway in slow, sweeping arcs. Their leaves make a faint rustling sound, long, soft, almost melodic. The stars above brighten further as the last hints of evening light fade into darkness. They fill the sky with countless points of steady white. No clouds, no interruptions, only the vast, ancient sky, unchanged for millennia. Part 55. Drifting toward sleep. The villager closes tired eyes, but the mind remains soft and open, hovering gently between waking and dreaming. Breathing becomes slower. Deeper inhales, longer exhales. The rhythm is steady, matching the distant hum of the desert night. Thoughts dissolve into vague impressions. A field of wheat, a clay pot drying in the sun, the river glowing at dusk, the soft call of an ibis, the warm feel of afternoon light. Nothing sharp, nothing urgent, just a slow, drifting flow of calm sensations. The oil lamp flickers once, a gentle movement, before returning to its steady glow. Outside, a single night bird calls, its sound low and soft. Then silence again. The villager breathes deeply, letting the entire body relax into the woven mat. The day has ended exactly as it began. Quiet, balanced, unhurried. Sleep approaches like a long, slow tide. Part 56. The depth of night. The night in ancient Egypt reaches its deepest point now. The sky is a pure, limitless black, lit only by stars and the faint glow of distant settlements across the river. The silence is profound. Not empty, but full of quiet life. Soft wings of night birds, the whisper of wind moving through palm fields, and the steady, calming breath of a world at rest. Inside the home, the villager has drifted into the first layer of sleep. Not deep yet, but peaceful. The body lies still on the woven mat, limbs relaxed, chest rising and falling in slow, rhythmic motion. The linen blanket rests gently over the shoulders, its weight light, barely noticeable. The oil lamp burns low, its flames smaller now, its glow softer, casting a warm halo of yellow light onto the clay wall. It sways once, slowly, then steadies again. Part 57. A world in perfect balance. Outside, the Nile continues its eternal movement. Smooth, unbroken, gliding through the darkness with steady intention. It has shaped countless lives, fed countless generations, and carried the weight of Egypt's civilizations for more years than any single person can comprehend. Its sound tonight is gentle. A soft, barely audible motion that flows like a memory. The stars above it reflect across the dark surface, forming long, shimmering lines that stretch toward the horizon. The village rests in perfect harmony. Homes quiet, animals calm, children asleep, elders dreaming softly behind heavy linen curtains. This is Ma'at, the ancient Egyptian sense of balance, order, and peaceful continuity. Everything is exactly as it should be. Part 58, drifting into deeper sleep. The villager transitions from light dreaming into deeper rest. Breathing slows further. Muscles sink heavily into the mat. The mind quiets. Dreams become softer, less detailed, more like colors and warmth than like stories. This is the phase where the night fully takes hold. where the body recovers and the world outside seems distant. The oil lamp dims for the last time, the wick burning low until the flame softly folds inward and dies out. Darkness fills the room, gentle, complete, comforting. The villager remains asleep, deeply, peacefully, barely aware of the world. Outside, a single wind gust pushes against the clay wall with a soft, padded sound, like a deep exhale. Then silence again. Part 59. Nightlife continues, quietly. Though the village sleeps, small movements occur in the natural world. A desert fox pads quietly along a narrow path, its paws making no sound on the cool sand. A group of crickets resumes its rhythmic chorus, soothing and repetitive, echoing through the quiet spaces between houses. The palm trees sway gently, their long leaves brushing together in soft, whisper-like motions. Farther away, on the river's edge, a fish leaps once, a brief splash that disappears instantly into the vast quiet. These sounds do not disturb the villager. They blend seamlessly into the nighttime landscape, becoming part of the peace. Part 60. The gradual approach of dawn hours pass. Time moves in the soft rhythm of sleep. Slowly, the sky begins to change. The blackness lightens toward dark blue. Stars lose a tiny measure of their brightness. The horizon becomes a faint, cool grey. This moment is as subtle as a breath, a transition so gentle that even the animals respond slowly. A bird stirs. Another shifts on its perch. A faint flutter of wings moves the air. Inside the home, the villager still sleeps, deep in the final cycle of the night's rest. The mind is calm. The body is heavy. Breathing continues in long, even waves. The new day is approaching, but without rush, without urgency. Egypt wakes slowly. Part 61. The first hint of light. A thin line of delicate blue appears along the horizon. The village remains silent, but the world itself is preparing. The Nile brightens softly, a silver sheen spreading along its surface. Palm trees gain faint outlines against the sky. Roosters call quietly, their voices low, not yet at full strength. Inside the home, the villager shifts slightly, a natural response to the shift in temperature and the changing quality of the air. Deep sleep begins to loosen its hold, but the body remains still. There is no hurry to wake. Part 62. Dawn approaches softly. The horizon brightens by only a shade or two. But in ancient Egypt, this subtle shift is enough to signal the slow end of night. The darkness thins, revealing the faint shapes of rooftops, palm trunks, and clay walls. The Nile reflects a thin line of early silver, just bright enough to shimmer faintly between the reeds. Animals sense the change. A goat stretches its neck, exhaling a warm breath. A chicken ruffles its feathers. A dog lifts its head briefly before settling down again. The village is not awake yet, but the world around it moves gently toward morning. Inside the home, the villager remains in deep, restful sleep, breathing steady, body heavy, mind quiet. This final stage of sleep is the deepest, the most restorative, the most peaceful. Part 63. The cooling of the night air ends. For hours, the night has cooled the land, but now the air begins its slow transition, shifting from cold to mild, preparing for warmth. The clay walls release the last of their coolness. The floor feels softer, less crisp. The faint smell of morning moisture arrives with the desert breeze, a scent mixed with reeds, earth, and distant water. The stars fade little by little. Not suddenly, but gradually, as if dimming themselves politely to make way for the rising sun. This gentle dimming creates a feeling of vast quiet, the calm moment when the world waits between night and day. It is the softest silence in the entire cycle. Part 64. The first real light of day. At last, the first real beam of sunlight touches the sky. Still below the horizon, the sun paints the desert with a pale, warm glow. The river brightens. Palm leaves catch the earliest hints of gold. The edges of houses begin to sharpen. Outside, birdsong grows louder. Not loud, but fuller, more defined. The ibis calls. The small finches chirp. A distant heron lets out a low, sleepy note from the riverbank. Inside the home, the villagers' sleep softens. The breathing pattern changes. Still slow, but lighter now, less deep. The mind moves from dreaming toward dim awareness. But waking is still far away. There is no rush. The world wakes slowly here. Part 65. The village breathes again. The light increases, filling the village with soft warmth. Shadows of palm trees stretch long across the ground. The first footsteps echo softly as an early riser steps outside, stretching arms overhead. A potter opens his workshop door, the wooden hinge creaking gently in the morning air. A group of goats shuffles quietly in their enclosure, seeking bits of cool dust. The Nile shimmers gold along its surface, a calm ribbon moving slowly through the awakened land. Inside the home, the villager stirs again. A hand moves slightly. A foot shifts carefully under the linen blanket. The body transitions out of the final layer of sleep. Morning is here. Another day is ready to begin. Part 66. The gentle awakening. The villager opens their eyes, blinking softly into the dim morning light. No alarm, no sharp sound, just the natural warmth of a rising sun filtering through the doorway curtain. The woven mat presses gently against the villager's back. The familiar firmness brings comfort, not stiffness. The home feels calm, still, warm. The villager sits up slowly, shoulders relaxing, breathing deep and steady. A new day in ancient Egypt is beginning. Quietly, calmly, exactly as it always has. Part 67. Full circle. The villager stands and steps toward the water jar, beginning the first task of every morning, washing the face and hands with cool, refreshing water. Outside, the soft sounds of early morning grow slightly louder. Children speaking quietly, women preparing grain, men gathering tools for a new day in the fields. The villager takes a deep breath. The air smells of earth, reeds, and sunlight. A new cycle begins. Night has ended. A new day arrives. The rhythm of life continues. Steady, unchanged, timeless. This is ancient Egypt, a civilization of calm, routine, and peaceful order. And as the villager steps out into the morning light, the world feels exactly as it should. Balanced, warm, and ready to begin again. The end. See you in another story. Stay with Sleepy Mythologics.